What is going on, you guys? I hope you guys are having a great day, and welcome back to the next video in my disturbing book Iceberg series. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the series already, I'm basically going down an iceberg that somebody created, a Reddit user by the name of K the Butcher Shitter, if you want to look for him. He actually created a disturbing iceberg that's full of books that go from normal books that might have some disturbing content all the way to books that are so completely insane that I had no idea even existed. So I hope you guys share these videos and get them more attention. And as always, I have already reviewed the two books that I finished on Tier 1 of the Iceberg, titled Normie Book Reader. Now we are finally on to Tier 2, which is titled Book Nerd. Now, these books, while they do have controversial content within them, they go a little bit further with what the books in Tier 2 did. Now, these are books you probably never heard of or even thought of that would be on the Iceberg. And yeah, some of these I've never even heard of before. And I'm only going to review books on this iceberg that I think don't deserve to have enough attention, or books that I found interesting that aren't talked about enough on YouTube. So I decided to go forward with that. And the first book that I finished reading on the iceberg is called The Cement Garden by Ian McEwan. Now, this one is interesting to me. This one is basically about a group of 4 kids who are all siblings, and their parents have tragically died under, natural circumstances. First the father dies, then the mother dies a couple of weeks later. These kids, they live in a very small house in like the middle of nowhere. Like, there's not too much near them. They do go to school, and they do have a few friends who come by once in a while. And let's just say that certain things go down while they're basically on their own. They're trying to raise themselves. Like, throughout the story, let me put this right here. So anyway, so the book starts off innocent enough where there were certain things that were happening where I'm like, okay, I bet this is going to happen at some point in the story, or I bet this will happen later on. And like, the kids, they try to eat for themselves, and they eat junk food and all that, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty predictable. I expected them to do that. There's one point where they don't clean or wash themselves after a while, and then they start to stink up the house, and then the kitchen starts to go bad. They bury their parents in the backyard in what they call the cement garden because they cover them up with cement, and that's where the term cement garden comes from. So in a way, it's kind of a tragic story, but I will say that the tragedy of the parents did not really get to me that well, because I genuinely did not feel bad for them, because you don't really get a chance to know them as characters. Throughout the story, you just know that they're there to protect their kids and they're there to raise them. So in the long run, not very good characters. But I will say that the 4 kid characters I was the most interested in, because I wanted to see what was going to happen to them as the story went on. Because the book starts off literally with 3 of the siblings playing a game to where one of them strips, and then they act like they're aliens probing her. And with that, I was able to put some pieces together and be like, okay, I bet a certain thing is going to happen either throughout the book or towards the end. And sure enough, it did, which I will get into in a little bit. But anyway, so the kids, they still choose to go to school until they get to a point where they don't go to school anymore at all, and that was also pretty predictable for me. I genuinely did like the 2 oldest characters the most, because they were the most compelling and they were the most driven in my eyes. And there was one point where I think the oldest daughter, who's like, I don't know, 15 or something like that, she gets together with some older guy, and it's implied that they are doing stuff while the other siblings, are just downstairs listening to it. And that was something that I just didn't expect from the story. I was like, oh my god, she's into prostitution now or what? And except she's not getting paid for it. He just comes by and does it to her, and it's weird. And yeah. And I will mention what happens at the end of the story, but I'll only imply it because I don't want this video to get taken down. The book, what I predicted at the very beginning when I read the story, actually happens at the end of the book. The book literally ends with this. The 2 oldest siblings, they do stuff. And while if this was a book in Tier 1, they would have just implied it, or they would have shortened it significantly. But in this story, you actually see what happens. It stretches on for a couple of pages, and I gotta say, the book ended on that weird note. And I will say that not the Definitely a shocking book, but and I would call it disturbing, but only until the very end, because before that, the book was just average for me. I think it's a pretty good book. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you want to try something a little bit different than what you're used to. But overall, I think it's fine. I give the book maybe 3 out of 5 stars. So overall, so guys, look forward to my next review, which will be for Concrete Island. Looking forward to reviewing that. So guys, thank you for watching, and please give this video a like, subscribe, and please share it with your friends so these books can get more views. And if you guys are looking for something new to add to your reading list, definitely check these out. So yeah,